Good morning, everybody. This morning we will be examining our Whispers from Eternity again, but to warm us up and to kind of kickstart the engine of our heart's devotion, let's begin with a chant. This is In the Valley of Sorrow, and this is a chant that can express some deep yearning for God and the heart's deep-seated soul yearning. And the words can sound a little bit sad, which in fact perhaps they are. But what I like to emphasize in this is that sincerity of the heart. The lyrics are, "In the valley of sorrow, 1,000 years or till tomorrow, but I'll wait to see only you, you, just you." And so let's emphasize that we are focusing on God, not focusing on the sorrow, but that despite all of that, we will endure everything until the day comes when we will only see God, God, God. In the valley of sorrow, 1,000 years or till tomorrow. In the valley of sorrow, 1,000 years or till tomorrow. But I'll wait to see only you, just you. My Lord, I want to see only my heart's aflame, my soul's afire. My heart's aflame, my soul's afire. Just for just you. My Lord, I want to see only you, just you. In the valley of sorrow, 1,000 years or till tomorrow. In the valley of sorrow, 1,000 years or till tomorrow. But I'll wait to see only you, just you. My Lord, I want to see only you, just you. My heart's aflame, my soul's afire. My heart's aflame, my soul's afire. Just for you, just you. My Lord, I want to see only you, just you. In the valley of sorrow, 1,000 years or till tomorrow. In the valley of sorrow, 1,000 years or till tomorrow. But I'll wait to see only just you. My Lord, I want to see only just you. My heart's aflame, my soul's afire. My heart's aflame, my soul's afire, just for you, just you. My Lord, I want to see only just you. My Lord, I want to see only just you, just you, just you. Let's pray together. Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, dearest friend, beloved God, great masters, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Sri Yukteswar, beloved Guru, Paramhansa Yogananda, saints of all religions, our friend Swamiji, we bow before you. We lay at your feet the flowers of our devotion. Light a fire in our hearts. Light a fire in our souls that will burn away all delusion, all material desires. Fill us with your presence until our hearts sing only for you, just you. Om, peace. Amen. I love that chant. It has so much to express in it. This is a little bit of a tangent, but one thing that I love so much about this chant is it plays with dissonance, that it has notes that are so close to the tonic bass notes of the chord that it creates this dissonant vibration, but that dissonant vibration yearns for resolution. And it so beautifully reflects the desire of the heart, that we feel this dissonant vibration in our hearts when we're absorbed in the material world, and what we're yearning for is the resolution of unity back with that essential core, that essential oneness with Spirit. And it's just beautiful how that chant reflects in the musical language the yearning of the heart. It's so moving. I mean, you could get rid of just the words and just listen to the melody and it would still pull your heart. And then, I mean, it's truly a great piece of work, because then if you looked at only the words and not the melody, it too would pull at your heart. And together it's just magic. So this week, I wanted to take a look at one of the softer, sweeter prayers from my experience so far with Whispers from Eternity that I've really delved into a little bit. This was actually the first prayer that I chose when I started going on my Whispers from Eternity campaign. And it really gave me a lot, and I'd like to share it with you now. So let's sit up straight, close your eyes, concentrate your energy in the heart center, and feel all of your energy, your awareness, your preoccupation withdrawing away from the world and centering yourself in your heart again. All of us yearn for God more than we know, but we get distracted by all of the myriad delusions and illusions that dance around us. But every once in a while we get back into our center and we feel that essential heart's yearning for God. And let's try and find that together now. This is, intoxicate me with the wine of thy love. Intoxicate me with devotion's wine. I will drink of thee until death. My earthly desires are now dead, and I will live in thee forever. A thrilling current runs through each cell of my body and through every opening of my love for thee. Saturated with devotion, I will enter the heaven of thy presence. Groping blindly, the urge of my devotion suddenly flings open the secret door in my soul. Oh, what bliss I feel on beholding thy light. These prayer demands are really beautiful. And one thing that has struck me is when I think of a demand, it implies that I'm asking for something that I don't already have. But often in these prayers, as Yogananda unfurls the prayer demand, it's really revealing that that experience is already ours through the words. And that's really a beautiful thing to meditate on and to consider, that this is already our reality. We've just forgotten it for a little bit. I had a sweet conversation with my earthly father once, and we were commenting on how the love for God, it's not that it is something that you have to build like a house, that you have to go out and get lumber and nails and tiles and construct it, but it's something that you rediscover within yourself as if it was, your keys that you left somewhere in your room and you couldn't find, and then suddenly, oh, there they are. But we were sort of joking together that whenever we remember that love for God, the way to express that remembrance is just simply, oh, I had forgotten and now I remember. I remember that I love God. I remember that that's really where my heart is drawing me constantly. And so this prayer demand is just a urge for us to remember that true heart's yearning for God, and to put aside all of our other preoccupations and to live forever in that intoxicating presence of God's love. So now let's take a look again at this prayer demand, because there's a lot of imagery in here and there's a lot of experience that he's hinting at. And I would love for my own experience to not just read this prayer, but to actually experience this prayer. And so that's what we'll try and focus on for the next 20 minutes together, is just unpacking it, trying to examine all the different phrases, and trying to imagine what it would be like to live in that consciousness. So his first line, intoxicate me with devotion's wine. And that already is so beautiful to me, and so reassuring in a sense, because if you think about your current resting state of consciousness, or I should say, as one of my friends in Los Angeles says, and when I say you, I mean me, when I think about my current state of resting consciousness, and if I ask myself, is this the height of my aspiration, or do I believe there's something more to be experienced? Do I hope beyond all hopes that there is something more for me to experience in life and in my own self? The answer is, oh my gosh, yes, there must be more. And what's interesting, I only dabbled in extracurricular activities, recreational drugs and alcohol for a little bit, but one thing that struck me about those experiences is, as Asha put it in one of her interviews with someone just a few days ago, that if you didn't believe that there was a higher form of consciousness that you could reach out for, it almost would become the logical next step to pursue different experiences of consciousness through drugs or alcohol, because what we currently have isn't all that much fun all the time. I don't know about you, but I don't want to live in on a scale of 1 to 10 of bliss. I don't want to live at a comfortable 3.5. I want to experience that 7. I want to experience a 10. And I want to learn to live in that all the time. And so when he says, intoxicate me with devotion's wine, it's so beautiful because to me, and I hope I'm clear enough for you to understand me, that there is that urge in us that says there must be more, that I must be able to experience more in my current state of consciousness. And rather than dulling my awareness down with material stimulants, what if I were to stimulate my consciousness with the higher chakras, with devotion? What would that experience be? But the fact that he uses the word intoxicate makes me just wonder what that experience means in its depth. Because when one is intoxicated, it's an experience that pervades your entire body. It's a sensation in your limbs, it's a sensation in your body, in your mind, in your feelings. There's that sensation of lack of inhibition. And so what would it be to be intoxicated not with alcohol but with love? Like, how would that affect the way you felt in your body? How would that affect the way your heart felt constantly, or the way you received stimulus from the world? It's just beautiful to think about. And I think we've all experienced those moments, those glimmers of remembering our true devotion for God. And you do feel a little drunk on love. Or even when, as Bambi puts it in the Disney classic, when you feel a little Twitter-pated, you feel a little drunk on love. And that is an incredible feeling, but that's just a human, limited reflection of the divine devotion that can come. And so the reason I'm dancing with that so much is because I think what Yogananda is telling us is that the experience of devotion should be a living reality. That it shouldn't be some intellectual understanding that, oh, I love God for so and so many units because I pray to Him this many hours and I chant this many hours and I do japa for this many hours and I do this many kriyas. Therefore, the equation says I love God at a scale of an 8. The measuring stick needs to be the experience of our own daily lives. That we should just feel our entire consciousness is being changed by the sincerity of our devotion for God. And if we're not feeling that, we're not loving enough. That's basically it. Naya Swami Kriyananda shared a story once, I don't remember of which saint, but he said there was a saint who loved God so deeply, and the way he expressed his devotion was he would go out and he would rub his face in the gravel, crying out for God to come to him. Like, he yearned so badly, that's what he needed to do. And we have little human expressions of that. You know, Romeo and Juliet hops a large wall and scales a room and puts his life at risk to be with Juliet. But we as the devotee, are we willing to scale the wall of our material desires and climb the tower of our inner spine because we love God so much? Because if we love something dearly enough, we will find the energy, we will find a creative way to achieve that end, no matter what. I gave a satsang, a lecture on energization at Living Discipleship just a few months ago. And I was struck to discover myself talking not so much about the technique of energization, nor so much about energy and dynamism and willpower, but I actually found myself talking about devotion and love. And I said that when you love God enough, you'll always find a way. You'll always find a way to find Him. You'll always find a way to dedicate yourself to Him. And that love will vivify and empower all the techniques that you do with sincerity, and then it will have real transformative grace. And it was probably the best class I ever gave on energization. So that was a good reminder for me that when we have love, we have everything. When we don't have love, we're just going through the motions. Intoxicate me with devotion's wine. I will drink of thee until death. This is a beautiful line too. In Conversations with Yogananda, somebody actually asked Yogananda which is more spiritual, the sense of smell or the sense of taste. And this is like so esoteric, but Master apparently responded the sense of taste. And I don't know why, but then I realized there are so many references to like drinking the name of God or tasting His name. So sweet, so sweet. And what I've been visualizing for myself is practicing receptivity on a deep level by visualizing that I'm not just receiving God's presence or receiving God's vibration, but that I am drinking it, that I am absorbing it into my body and into myself. And this goes back to an interesting experience I had when I was an actor in Los Angeles. And being an actor is interesting, but it basically boils down completely to, can you be authentic and truthful to yourself, and can you receive somebody else? And that word receive is very important. And I was working as an actor, and my mentor at the time stopped using the word listen to your partner, and he said receive your partner, like with open hands, as if someone was giving you a gift, as if your hands were a chalice and they were pouring the water of their heart's sincerity into it. With what care would you receive? And so when he says, I will drink of thee until death, visualize in your heart that you are drinking the vibration of God's love, that you are drinking His vibration, that you are assimilating that vibration into yourself, and by that extension, you are becoming that vibration. Intoxicate me with devotion's wine. I will drink of thee until death. My earthly desires are now dead, and I will live in thee forever. Because like I was saying, when you love God with enough power, those earthly desires fall away. And this, I think, is also a gradient of experience, that it's not, yes, if you love God intensely enough for even just a single moment, it will burn away all of those material desires, so we're told. I haven't experienced that yet, but what I have experienced is going deeply in devotion and having an experience of being free from material desires, that they die in that moment because of the power and the brightness of your love for God. We often hear people comment on the chant, I want only thee, Lord. And it is a high mark to chant, I want only thee, Lord, with complete sincerity. And what I started doing to help myself with that chant is I would just try and get my heart to the place where I could say, Lord, right now, I want only thee. And even if my heart thinks it wants all these other experiences, I know that what I'm actually seeking is you. And so even though I may be still tricked a little bit by delusion, I know really ultimately I'm seeking you, and I'm only seeking you right now. And when I can get into that bhav with my heart of just recognizing that in God holds all fulfillment that my heart yearns for, then you begin to find freedom and acceptance. A thrilling current runs through each cell of my body and through every opening of my love for thee. Now that's also, as he literally says, thrilling. Because again, what do we imagine is the potential for our consciousness, for our state of being? Yogananda says that there's enough energy in 1 gram of your flesh to power the city of Chicago for, a week or something like this? That's an absurd amount of energy. And yet, at 2 o'clock this afternoon, I might find myself thinking that I need a nap. So, what's going on here? Why am I not experiencing that truth? And so when he says, a thrilling current runs through each cell of my body, just visualize, imagine, what would that feel like? Let's actually visualize for a moment. Close your eyes and just imagine a golden current of thrilling energy coursing through your body, humming God, God, God. And what if that thrilling current animated your tissue, be it that you are waking, eating, sleeping, working, serving, meditating, divinely loving, as Yogananda says in his prayer, God, God, God. And this is an achievable experience. And I think actually that's really worth highlighting, is everything that Yogananda writes in this book is possible. That this is a promise of our potential. This isn't optimistic musings. This isn't saying, oh, wouldn't it be nice if I could feel a thrilling current? He's saying, no, you can feel a thrilling current running through every cell of your body. But to do that, you need to open your heart enough to receive that sort of energy. You have to let go of all of the resistances and the thwarting cross currents of your own heart to enable the current to flow unimpeded with that sort of power. And through every opening of my love for thee. Isn't that beautiful? It reminds me of, Rumi says, light enters, something along the lines of, whenever the heart breaks, that's where light enters. And so when we have those openings in our heart for the love of God, that's where He can enter a little bit. And so it's important to cultivate where we feel love for God, even if it seems just like really small or minute. I've started trying to feel love for God in simple things like the flowers, or in the dance of trees, or in the sparkling of the stars, and just take a moment and say, thank you, God, I see you. Or just this morning I woke up and I energized and I did a yoga posture, and then I was about to go take a shower and I happened to glance out the window and there was this stunning sunrise. And I just took a moment to sit and watch the sunrise with Divine Mother and just say, thank you, Divine Mother, for this beautiful tapestry of your artwork and creation. Saturated with devotion, I will enter the heaven of thy presence. Now just imagine your heart like a sponge for a moment. And imagine that your heart has been filled with dirty water. Water that's been contaminated with earthly desires, with ambitions, with fears. And the degree to which your heart is already full with the love of the world is the degree to which you are unable to hold pure devotion. And so what we need to do is we need to wring all that dirty water out so we can receive the pure water of the infinite. But what would it feel like to truly be saturated? Meaning that like every fiber of your being, every corner of your heart was filled with that flowing current of love for God. That it wasn't something you had to find and nurture and protect, but it was just 100% a part of who you are. That you couldn't run from it, even if you tried. I sort of am enjoying also this image saturated with devotion. I'm sort of imagining someone just like wet as a dog and their clothes dripping onto the floor as they walk towards God. You know, I will enter the heaven of thy presence. But that's a beautiful image to take, because just think that water, the element of water relates to the heart's feelings, relates to our ability to feel in our hearts. And what would it feel like to have opened ourselves to the downpouring of the divine water element, to purify our hearts, to get rid of all the dross, and in its place to saturate us, to fill us completely with that presence, with that purity, with that sincerity. And then that would give us the power to enter into the presence of God. It's beautiful. Patanjali promises, because actually devotion, I'm sorry, I cut myself off, but because I didn't quite explain this thought well enough. Patanjali promises in his explanation of the yamas and the niyamas that each one of them, if perfected, will yield a specific yogic power. And I sort of enjoy reverse engineering it. So for example, he says that you will have perfected non-lying, truthfulness, when the very words that you speak are binding upon the universe. And this is how, I think it was Lahiri said, or no, it was Sri Yukteswar, I believe, who said, it will be easier for the sun and moon to exchange positions than it will be for your friend to die. And then when it turned to be true that Yogananda's friend survived, Sri Yukteswar just remarked, I see that God decided it was easier to save your friend than to exchange the sun and the moon, because he had spoken those words, and so therefore they were true. But I haven't yet achieved that, but I think like everything in the spiritual path, this is also a gradient. And so I've just started to try and pay attention and ask myself, to what extent are my words manifesting as reality? And so then the degree to which I speak and it doesn't manifest is the degree to which I am not practicing perfect truthfulness. And that just boils down to like integrity. For example, if I say I'm going to do something and I don't do it, well, it's pretty clear why it didn't manifest, because I didn't do it. But all that to say, in the niyamas, in the do's on the spiritual path, the final one on the list is devotion. Oops, it's 8:46 and I'm out of time. But in that niyama, he says the power of perfected devotion is to be drawn into the presence of God and to become one with God. And so let's focus on that power of devotion, and that we don't have to practice it perfectly to become one with Him, but we can just practice to the best of our ability, and we will experience step by step a greater awareness of the presence of God within us. Thank you, friends.